Hello friends, welcome to your Asian drama channel. Here, you will find the best summaries, so make sure to subscribe now so you don't miss any videos. Enjoy today's episode. Ling is the owner of an important company in the country, but he has a crazy personal life. Hannah, his personal assistant, who is available to him at any time, makes sure he doesn't get involved in scandals with the press. One night, she has to go pay the bill at a nightclub where he was. He notices something strange and intervenes at the moment Ling was about to drink something suspicious, and even offers to drink it for him. However, the other man who is with him, Seo, stops him and drinks it himself. Thanks to this, they both find out there is something in the drink since the other man soon becomes drunk. To investigate what is happening, Seo takes Ling to the bathroom with the excuse that he will teach him a lesson for a penalty Hannah didn't fulfill. He makes everyone in the room leave, while Seo asks for the security footage, and Hannah tries to open the door where her boss is, only for him to end up opening it. At first, asleep in his arms, Hannah asks him to pretend to be drunk, and thus, they manage to leave the situation unscathed. She takes him home with Lin, another worker. As soon as Hannah leaves with Ling, she receives a phone call from an unknown man, where we discover they are conspiring against Ling because they want to prevent him from attending an important board meeting that will decide the future of the company. Meanwhile, the girl has to stay to sleep there because she has to wake Ling up early, since he has many tasks at the company. Meanwhile, he watches the security camera footage, where he apparently doesn't notice anything, and then goes to see Hannah from his window, as he really enjoys her company. At work, Ling keeps pretending to act silly to get the girl's attention. However, this changes when she asks for permission to leave earlier. Seo thinks it's because she wants to rest, although, in reality, she would have a blind date that afternoon. Ling finds out about this thanks to one of the girl's friends. He catches her before she leaves and asks her to take him home again. Duan warns that this won't be possible because he is going somewhere else. He says it's fine because he will wait for her until she finishes her pending task for the place she's going to. So, Hannah has no choice but to accept that Ling is the one driving and going to places not to ruin his assistant's date. He warns that if someone loves her, then he will wait for her. She asks if he heard her conversation with her companion, which Ling admits. Soon, the two panic because the car's brakes start failing. He gets serious and tells Hannah what to do so that they start trying to avoid getting hurt in the car, which is almost successfully achieved because, by hitting some kind of cone, Ling protects her. He calls Snan to check on Hannah, and when this happens and he makes sure she is okay, he takes her home. He keeps talking with his friend, and that's how we find out that Hannah's car was damaged by Ling's uncle because he wants to take Ling's father's shares and is looking for all possible ways to sabotage him and hurt him in front of the board that will announce Ling as the definitive owner of the company. Thanks to the accident, Hannah's phone stops working. So, while they fix it, she uses one her uncle gave her years ago. Before leaving in the morning, she receives an email informing her of her dismissal, and she immediately goes to the company. There, she asks Ling about the reason for her dismissal. He says it's because of what happened the previous day, something he blames her for, even though, in reality, it's because he wants to protect her from his uncle. The two argue, exchanging harsh words, such as her saying she desperately needs money and calling him an idiot, which she had to endure. Before the situation worsens, Hannah suddenly disappears. Ling immediately takes her to the hospital. There, Signan informs him that the girl seems to be in serious condition. Ling asks his friend to keep Hannah in the hospital while the board meeting takes place, as his uncle is capable of anything and he doesn't want Hannah to be hurt. The girl finally receives the diagnosis, but the doctor hesitates to speak. He begins asking if she has any family or someone to collect the results for her, but Hannah confesses that she's the only one in her family. After pulling the results from the doctor, she finds out that she has advanced pancreatic cancer. Devastated, Hannah asks to be left alone and regrets it because she doesn't have enough money to cover the treatment costs. At that moment, she receives a call from a stranger who asks if it's her and warns her that on December 31st of that year, she should not look for Ling at a certain place because her life will be in danger. Hannah thinks it's a scam and responds harshly, saying that her life is already in danger due to cancer. Soon we meet Z, Ling's evil uncle, who pretends to love and appreciate him, even though both know he's only pretending. The CEO himself pretends to be an idiot in front of the man, so he lowers his guard. During a party organized by Ling, she appears to ask for compensation for having worked with him for 2 years, as well as for what happened with her car and cell phone, promising that as soon as he gives her the money, she will never bother him again or show up in front of him. Ling only acts rudely in front of her and mocks the girl. Even though she told him about her pancreatic cancer and how she needed the money for treatment, Ling ends up being embarrassing in front of everyone. Throwing her in the pool and mocking her, he makes her drink an entire bottle of alcohol and then refuses to give her the money that was due to her for her dismissal. At that moment, he remembers how he fell in love with her. Hannah, though she doesn't remember, helped him continue living without realizing it. The girl finally gets tired of the situation and attacks Ling and the guests at the party, saying that the CEO is just a bastard, and the thing she regrets most in life is having met him. She tried so hard to be his assistant, but he just used her for stupid things. She had no other choice, as she needed the money, and he had enough to buy her dreams and dignity. Yet, despite all that, she hoped Ling wasn't as bad as the people she interacted with, but now she realized she was wrong. Hannah leaves upset, leaving Ling heartbroken, who doesn't hesitate for a moment to chase after her, with Lin following him. He notices this and confronts Lin, telling him he's a disloyal dog and grabbing his phone to talk to his uncle, admitting he already knows what he plans to do. Unknowingly, at that moment, he reveals that his father's death wasn't an accident, and that as soon as he passes the board, he'll be completely unprotected. And if he wants to know more, Ling's uncle will be waiting for him at a nightclub the next day. Soon, we will discover that the call Hannah received at the hospital was from the same Ling, but from the future, because at that moment, she is no longer alive, and the CEO is looking for a way to save her later. She receives another call from the future where Ling, trying to make her believe him, says that she is not sick and the real account is with Signan, who also gives her the winning lottery number of that day. He tries to tell her something about a club she knows, but at that moment, the call ends. Hannah goes to the doctor, first discovering that she doesn't have pancreatic cancer, and she asks to be told this to keep her in the hospital, which makes her start to suspect that something strange is happening. Well, Signan confessed that the CEO did this because he was worried about her. When she got home, she decided to buy the lottery number that the stranger had told her, and as soon as the result came out, she was surprised, as she became the winner of the prize. Since everything the stranger told her was true, she decides to go to that club where Ling was being threatened and having problems because he didn't want to transfer his shares to his uncle. Fortunately, she arrives at the right moment and intervenes before they take her to the CEO. He doesn't hesitate to defend her when they try to harm them. Soon a guard appears, whom Ling hired for Hannah, who helps them escape on his motorcycle. She takes care of the situation. On the way home, they meet another man from Ling's side. He tells the girl not to worry. In fact, he is his ally and will help her in the boardroom. Once at the CEO's house, he tells her the whole truth about what has been going on and how scared he was that something would happen to him. Hannah thinks he is just joking as usual, even though she knows something about the story doesn't add up because it seems that all this time he has been trying to protect someone and gives hints. It was certainly Signan or the girl she saw him flirting with at the party. He tries to explain to her that the one he was trying to protect was her and confesses that he likes her, but Hannah still doesn't believe him because it's common for the CEO to make such jokes. Unfortunately, Hannah's lottery ticket ends up being stained with the CEO's blood. He makes peace with her, and while doing so, he warns her that tomorrow, during the meeting, they will do something very big. This is how, the next morning, he leaves an outfit ready for her, so she can dress accordingly for the occasion. During the board meeting, Ling ends up exposing his uncle once and for all, showing how he forced him to give him his shares and the fraudulent spending he made with the company. Then, the entire board agrees to expel him. He also appoints Hannah as the new head of the public relations department because she is very competent in these matters before being taken by the police. Then, he warns his nephew that one day, he will take everything he has. He must prepare for what Ling does not take seriously at the moment. Only later, while his friends advised him on how to win Hannah over, which was to confess to her that they already knew each other before, is when he finds out that Ling managed to escape before being taken to the police station. Shortly after Rancid and the CEO meet there, she ends up resigning because she feels that Ling never really lets her make her own decisions and chooses everything for her without asking. She considers him a good person, but not a good boss, which is comforting for the CEO, who has no choice but to accept and warns his beloved about the escape of his uncle. Later, she receives another call from the future, where the Ling from that place asks her not to leave the company because something may happen to him. She believes him because she hears the voice of someone close to her and also discovers that the stranger from the future can only communicate with her between 12 o'clock and 12:20 because that's when the space-time between the two is closest. It's thanks to this that she soon returns to work with Ling, who is finally introduced by the press as the new president of the MU Group, specialized in quantum communication. Soon, Ling gets involved in a scandal for being linked to two women at the same time. Hannah looks for a way to resolve this. One afternoon, while the CEO was having dinner with the women he was involved with, Silin, the daughter of an important businessman, appears, and she has been in love with Ling for a long time. She makes the other girls leave and soon begins to tell the CEO what a great couple they would make and how well they would get along. However, he rejects her because Hannah is the one who rules his heart. Soon, she appears and must pretend to be Ling's girlfriend because the actress she hired couldn't make it in time. Despite her acting, Silin doesn't believe she is really Ling's girlfriend, as she didn't even buy shoes for the occasion. Hannah replies that it's because of superstition, as if Ling bought her shoes, it would mean he wanted her to go far away. Silin still doesn't believe them. Even though everyone acts in a clingy and loving way, she then invites them to a party that takes place that same afternoon, which they accept. When they leave there, Hannah hints that she and Ling would make a very good couple, as the company could receive good investments, and they would marry. He says that they will have to pretend to be a couple for the party, as she was the one who wanted to find him a companion, and she must also make sure she agrees to attend the party, as she wants to make an important investment. So, Hannah has no choice but to let Ling take her to buy a dress and shoes, where they end up having a romantic moment. Since, wanting to help her remove the tag, they end up in a compromising position. The CEO doesn't buy the girl's sneakers because he remembers her words during the meeting with Ling about superstition and shoes. At first, Hannah is defensive about this until he tells her that she will probably have to walk a lot and he doesn't want her to get too tired, so her sneakers are better. Even though the other guests notice when they arrive at the party, everyone begins to whisper about Hannah, calling her house, her fortunes, or other things. Ling, when hearing this, starts defending her with sweet words, saying that he is lucky to be dating the girl because he has no other quality other than being rich and handsome, and on the other hand, Hannah is all good in this world, and everything she has, she earned with her own effort and tears. So, No one there has the right to judge her because they all come from a wealthy family and surely never had to work seriously in their lives, which leaves everyone silent. Sillin is surprised to realize that, even though she is old, she is not Ling's girlfriend. He is truly in love with the girl. Seo and his beloved will take a bit of fresh air after what happened. Ling sincerely apologizes to her for what happened, since he bothered her and admits what occurred. He said it was serious, which warms Hannah's heart. He must leave when he sees the investor he wanted to meet, who is Sillin's father, Sion. Moments later, the woman talks to Hannah, saying what it is and that it wasn't because of them. They would be best friends, but this doesn't stop her from being kind to Hannah, as she defends her from a woman who is very rude to her and even did something to the stranger, which Hannah thanks her for. Then, she will call the stranger from the future. This is how she discovers that she shouldn't be in that hotel because it was the place where she died in the future, and she rushes to leave. Hannah manages to get into Seo's car, where she tries to contact him, and from a distance, she sees Sui. She must hide and try to contact Ling again because she was afraid something might happen to Ling. She runs to look for him inside, but doesn't find him, and when she goes out, she is forcefully taken by Z, who knocks her unconscious and then throws her into a pool. In the future, we see how Ling believes he managed to save his beloved. However, when he wants to go look for her, his friends remind him that she had already died the previous year because, on the same date last year, a man entered her house and sent her with St. Peter to the past. Ling manages to save Hannah since he realized in time what was happening, thanks to the hotel doorman. Playfully, Nil shows the video of his rescue to Hannah, hinting that Ling is in love with her, but she denies it, although she feels embarrassed. Sand is in charge of picking up Seo's car, where he receives a call from the girl's phone warning about what will happen to her. Then, he calls his friend, who is leaving Joan's house, where they make a romantic confession because she admits that she only returned to the hotel because she was afraid something might happen to her. Fortunately, Ling receives Sand's call in time, and that's how he manages to save her, the beloved of the man who is already waiting for her at home. He convinces her to move into his house for a while her uncle is in prison. There, they meet San, who says Hannah should thank her friend for saving her. To avoid looking suspicious, she lies, saying he is her neighbor. Later, Ling asks his friend for advice on how to flirt with his beloved, and then San says it would be good if he seductively touched her ear and asked if she liked it, which Ling thinks is a good idea. He does this, eventually. Despite this, they spend an awkward moment with Hannah. They have a nice dinner, as Ling prepares pasta for her, which she thanks him for, adding that she not only thanks him for cooking for her, but for staying by her side and making an effort to protect her, which speeds up the process for Ling. Before going to bed, he receives the security camera footage from the hotel, discovering that Z is not working alone and, apparently, they are after Hannah for some reason. Ling decides to become the girl's driver since he doesn't want to take the risk that something might happen to her. And that's how, when he takes her to her destination, she discovers that it is the pool where Z tried to hurt her. She explains that she is there to learn how to swim, as she must be prepared in case something happens again, and has already hired an instructor, upon discovering that it is a man who will teach her beloved Ling how to swim. He offers to help her, and that is how they spend a romantic afternoon together, and are even mistaken by a wedding photographer. As a couple, they decide to take photos of newlyweds so that Sillin will not bother them during their stay at the hotel, as she was there. After finishing the photo shoot, they meet a man with whom the elderly woman had a blind date some time ago, and who asked for help to confess his feelings to the woman he likes. Ling immediately marks her territory and tells Pechi that they are dating, and then leaves with Hannah as soon as they get their room. Ling flirts a bit with Hannah since there were rose petals on the bed, to have a passionate night, which embarrasses the girl a little. Shortly after, Sillin keeps showing up at their door with romantic gifts for the couple, as she continues to suspect their fake relationship. That's why Hannah calls the hotel reception and asks them to send a bunch of condoms. Well, only then will Sillin leave them alone. Hannah makes a fake pacifier, and when she receives the condoms, Sillin leaves to check and finally lets them be alone for the night. While Hannah was reflecting on everything that happened those days, she realizes that Sui is following her, and it's certainly because of her cell phone, as it can connect to the future and the past. She is soon interrupted by Ling and tries to hide the phone quickly, causing an attack. The glass falls, and she ends up getting hurt. Immediately, Ling goes to see how she is. He takes care of her, and they have a good time together. The next day, she receives another call from the future, where this time Ling confesses that he is someone she lives with. He has always been by her side, a moment when Hannah remembers how a boy helped her when she was in high school to escape a group of bullies who were looking for her family due to a debt. That stranger let her stay at his house while things were sorted out. Soon, she meets Peen, as they were going to talk about his confession. However, at that moment, Hannah begins to believe that maybe he is the boy who helped her back then, since when she asked if he liked the soup there, the man told her he used to frequent that place when he was older. Janie and Ling talked about the plan they had to catch C, which was to hold a conference in a somewhat isolated place, because they knew that the man would surely try something. And Seo asks him to inform Hannah about this, who is thinking about who the young man who helped her back then could be, and immediately ruled out Ling. Hannah becomes increasingly certain that it was Peen, the young man who helped her in the past, because apparently he loves her. She sends food from a place she used to go with that boy, and even makes Ling's pet call her the way that young man used to speak to her. But this was Seo's doing, and it's thanks to the fact that Peen doesn't deny everything Jansia told him, that she continues to believe the man is the one who helped her back then. One afternoon, the girl sees how Sillin and Ling are going to eat together when he told her he was going with his father on business, which makes her jealous. When they see each other again, they end up having an argument, where Ling tries to explain what happened while Hannah tries to make him jealous by saying how great Peen is and how he helped her during her adolescence. She then goes with her things to the room, where she finds out, thanks to a recorder she used for a conference, that all this time it was Ling who tried to make his pet say her childhood nickname. She begins to remember all the moments she spent by his side and how Ling tried to give her a hint about it all. Then, she goes to confront him and asks if he has nothing to say to her. Ling only explains the thing with Sillin again and doesn't comment on his youth. In her next call to the future, Hannah leaves Ling. She knows that he already knows that all this time it was him who had been by her side, so she believes it's time to confess the whole truth about what happened in her original timeline. That's when we find out that after Ling fired Hannah, she tried to leave the country, and when Seo found out, he went to look for her. One way or another, they ended up together and were even going to get married. But someone got rid of his beloved before the ceremony could take place. The future changes again, and this time Hannah is still alive, but in a coma and may never wake up. Despite this, Ling is happy because he can apparently save his beloved. Soon, the day of the conference arrives, which in the end is cancelled due to the weather. The only way for her to arrive was closed. Things only got worse when he realized that Sillin was there on behalf of his father, but he felt jealous. Even though he tried to hide it, once in his accommodation, Ling let Pei Chen, who works at the company, know that he was also there, willing to have a fair competition with him for Hannah's love. The man warns that he has already given up on the girl because he realizes she is in love with someone else. Shortly after, Ling and Sillin meet. She tries to catch his attention again, but Seo constantly rejects her. Realizing this, the woman warns that she will amicably give up trying to make him fall in love with her because she is going back abroad. No matter how much she tries, and even though they are childhood friends, Ling never saw her any other way. He agrees to take a walk with her, not knowing that they would be seen by Hannah, who was talking to Pei Chin and asking why he had tried to impersonate the young man who helped her years ago. During the walk, Ling asks why she doesn't like him when she is perfect in almost everything, and everyone likes her. Ling tells him that it's because she only sees him as an object and is obsessed with him just because he never flattered her like other people. He also confesses that he likes her and that she is special because she's the only one who makes him want to do the impossible since his love for her has always been genuine. He definitively rejects Silin. Later, he and another man try to harm Hannah, but this isn't possible because everyone has already been informed of what he was going to do, and they finally managed to capture him. Although the man warns them that things are not over yet. After making sure his beloved is fine, the two go for a walk in the forest to observe a meteor shower. She asks if he doesn't have something to tell her. Ling finally confesses everything and thanks her for helping him change his life when he was 18 years old. At that age, he lost his family, and the only one who helped to move forward was her, as she gave him warmth like a ray of sunshine. Since then, she has always been present in his life. He apologizes for not confessing the truth from the beginning and asks if she'll accept him despite all of that. Hannah responds with a kiss and then confesses that back then, he was also her ray of sunshine, the one who helped her live with affection and love. Although she didn't know his name back then, she never could forget him, and her heart was always searching for him. The two kiss passionately, thus beginning a beautiful relationship. In the future, we discover that Pei Chin was one of the people responsible for putting Joan into a coma, so this time Ling plans to make the girl get rid of her phone for Ling from the past. Soon, the new couple introduces their relationship to the others. Peen is not happy about this, as it means the girl has already discovered that he is not the young man from her past. In the city, the two talk about the discovery of Ling's father. He distanced himself from his son after the mother's death, and it was Hannah who encouraged him to reconnect with Ling, not to mention that the uncle who gave him the phone is the father of his now beloved. Hannah receives a call where she is warned about what is going to happen, unaware that at that moment, Peen would try to do something against her. Fortunately, Ling shows up, and the man retracts at that moment. Hannah warns Ling about everything that's going on, revealing that the one who called her is the man from the future, and that Peen is the one who wants to harm him, also giving him the phone. They then set a trap, making him believe that he had recovered Hannah's phone, causing the company to detect its signal and send Peen to investigate, and it is thanks to this that he manages to take the phone without knowing that it had a tracker and was fake. That's how they find out that other people involved in the case are with whom he used to be his father's partner. But when the man showed the phone to Zikuin, he began to say that he didn't want it for good purposes, but rather to get richer and do things that would alter space and time. That's why Ling's father ended up handing himself over to Zeal and Ansha later, without knowing that on the day Zikuin revealed his plans to him, he would receive a call from the future girl. And that's how Zikuin found out that Hannah had the phone. Ling from the future calls Ling from the past, telling him that no matter what they do, it seems like Jant's future doesn't change, as he just died there and hopes to find a solution to that. Even if they do something drastic in the morning, Ling warns his beloved about it and suggests that she go abroad to avoid her death because he wants her to be safe while things are fixed, as well as a good opportunity for her to learn new things about her work. Guanxia doesn't oppose it and thanks the CEO for telling her the truth and not hiding anything from her, having such a pleasant and warm moment together. Ling is not entirely honest with her, though, since days before leaving, he makes her sign a document in another language, claiming it's the necessary paperwork for her trip, where he gives her all his assets in case something happens to him, as he is willing to risk his life for his beloved to stay alive in the future. During their last meeting, they visit a cafe where they can send voice messages to each other, and years later, That's how the couple says beautiful words to each other and confesses their most sincere feelings. They listen to them in the future. At night, Ling buys a cake, claiming that he wants them to celebrate their anniversary together, although it's still 2 months away. She confesses that she thought he would propose to her, hinting that they should make a prenuptial agreement so that neither of them would feel tempted by someone else while apart. Ling confesses that he's not worried about that, and that his love for her is sincere and immeasurable, so he doesn't believe something like that is necessary due to his romantic words. The two end up coming together, bodies together, spending their last night together. The next day, Hannah goes to wait for her flight and is bid farewell by her lover, who immediately goes to seasicken, as he already has a plan to leave them alone once and for all in the future. We see how Hannah receives the message that Ling recorded for her a year ago, where he apologizes to his beloved for not being entirely honest with her and tells her how much he loves her and how his life changed since she arrived at his doorstep. On the day, Hannah goes to thank the grave, as this time, it was she who died, and now she must find a way to save him in the past. We see Ling meet with Zikuan and manage to deceive him with the phone, thus receiving a call, but from his assistant, who warns him that his frauds have come to light and that Hannah from the future is calling the quantum phone, managing to communicate with Snan and warning him of what is going to happen. Hannah from the past is informed of this, and thanks to the teamwork with him, Ling and Hannah manage to save Ling in time, now that he is better. Hannah informs him that she already knows the document he made her sign was his will. Sillin apologizes to her, saying that he just wants to protect her and promises that he will never do something like that again because even though she is not yet his wife, she is still everything to him. The couple is concerned because they haven't communicated with them about the future for days, and they fear that something might have happened. They are then informed by Snan that Sillin is in the hospital due to an incident. They try to go to the hospital to see her, but Sillin stops them from leaving her alone with the son, which she accepts without resistance. Once they are alone, the woman begins to apologize to Sillin for not realizing what her father was doing. He asks her not to worry about it, as it is not her fault. Soon after, Hannah receives a call from Pei Chen. She refuses to answer, saying that he only wants to give her a key so she can receive the money her father left her, and that he was blackmailing him for it. Sillin advises her to answer the call so he can find a way to help her during this issue. Pei Chen just keeps asking for the money, as the bank needs her presence to receive it. She doesn't know if the key he has is real, so he suggests they meet so he can check. It's because of this call that Sillin believes something is off, because he doesn't think Pei Chen just wants the money. He is sure that someone else in the future other than him took the phone, and that person is certainly involved with Pei Chen, as he is the only one of those involved who wasn't arrested. This is why the group of friends decides to investigate Pei Chen's village, discovering that he had been abandoned by his father and only survived thanks to the care of some elderly people whom he was ungrateful to. Some time later, a woman adopted him, and when Pei Chen returned to the village, he looked down on everyone and even allowed his adoptive father to demolish part of the village when he came back. At the man's house, they discover that the woman he had been in love with all this time wasn't Hannah, but rather Sillin. So, Sillin starts theorizing that Sillin is not a victim or part of what's going on, and maybe Pei Chen is just an additional tool allowing everything to happen. He knows for sure that Pei Chen knows they're there because when they arrived, he noticed a camera aimed directly at their house, and there must be many informants around. Later, a man starts roaming around the house, and they follow him. When he tries to escape, Hannah is the only one waiting, unaware that everything was just a trap, as the man was a stranger from the city whom Pei Chen paid to do this while he was being forcibly taken away. Upon realizing the trap, they go to search for the girl who had been threatened by Pei Chen near a cliff. Hannah manages to convince the man not to do it by mentioning Sillin to him, without knowing that Pachin would jump from there, but not before saying that she wished he and Sillin had something similar to what the couple has when they are safe. Hannah confesses that the only regret she would have if her life ended there would be not having told him that she loves him for what he does. In the moment, she asks for them to be together for the rest of their lives, which Sillin accepts. After that, they receive a call from the future where the couple asks them to get rid of the phone, as things seem to finally be okay there, and they even plan to leave. Once married, this changes. One afternoon, while Iki was teaching her beloved Sillin how to drive his car, he intentionally crashes into them, causing Hannah's death. In the past, the couple is invited by Sillin to his house because he is going to say goodbye, and they also discover the death of his father, who is in prison. At that moment, Dashir receives a call from Piki from the future, who informs her of what happened and warns that Sillin is the one responsible for everything. From that moment on, the girl starts planning what to do about it. Hannah warns Iki in front of Ayn that she is going to destroy the phone so that she can get closer to them when leaving the woman's house. She tells him everything Piki from the future told her, asking if maybe he didn't notice all those expensive gifts that Cian had in the hallway. Sillin replies that they are all gifts Sillin sent him for his birthday, but he always returned them, asking if maybe he forgot to return one at some point. And it is thanks to this that they discover that Sillin was not the cause of his father's death, but rather Sillin, as he is the one responsible for the gift of the year his father died. He sent him a bracelet that Hannah herself had made for the man. Snand explains to them that Sillin is probably a psychopath or something similar. They tend to keep things from their victims as trophies, and Sillin doesn't seem to be affected at all by the deaths around him, even of people close to him. They all begin planning a way to imprison the woman. Sillin realizes that Celine truly doesn't know. He goes after Hannah, but for him, because he knows that in any situation, he needs to protect his beloved. But this time, he couldn't, because Hannah ended up protecting him. Thanks to her plan, they managed to make Sillin steal his phone through a third party, and she receives a call from him in the future, where they warn her about what will happen. Even though it is all a trap, soon after, Sillin decides to propose to the girl because every moment he spends with her is precious and unique. It is like one night when his beloved was preparing for this. She shows up and is the one who proposes to him, saying the same thing to the CEO, who could not be happier to have such a wonderful woman by his side. Sillin confesses that he was going to propose to her at that moment, and that's why Hannah asks to do it formally. The CEO kneels and asks her to marry him. The girl immediately accepts, and they kiss passionately, hoping to finally become legally life partners. However, this cannot happen because Cian appears and locks Hannah in the freezer, not knowing it was her plan to finally put her behind bars and let them live a peaceful life. This doesn't go well because in the broken freezer, Hannah realizes that Sillin not only wants to get rid of her, but also her lover, so she immediately tries to save him, which she does. Although she ends up dying right there before moving on to the afterlife, Guanxia asks Ling to destroy the phone and find a way to move forward. Ling doesn't want him to live trying to change the past like the Ling from the future, as he wants her happiness. Ling doesn't pay attention to this because he believes he can save Hannah somehow, and this is how, some time later, we see him receiving a voice message from the girl, where she confessed how much she loves him and hopes he lives happily, even though she won't be by his side anymore, as the present is now present and he must focus on it. Ling finally makes his last attempt to save his beloved, and this is how he calls the past again, introducing himself as the boy who helped her some time ago. This time, Hannah hears him for the first time. He asks her to return the phone to her old apartment and stop working with her psychic abilities since she found out that her life is in danger because her father works at that company, which immediately makes her believe this is how she will return the phone to her old apartment, also leaving a gift she gave to Ling next to her father's things. She quits the next day, receiving a large financial compensation that helps her buy a beach inn and live abroad for a while. At that moment, Ling's memories of the future change again. Although he is sad about losing valuable moments from the past with his beloved, he is happier because this time, he managed to save her since her grave disappeared. A year passes, and Ling finally goes to pick up the phone along with the gift that Hannah gave him. He leaves it, and this time he gets rid of the phone because things finally seem to be going well. Shortly after, he discovers from Min that Hannah has moved back to China for good, and that's why he makes a reservation at her guest house. Seeing this, she gets a little nervous because she worked for him recently and has been having strange dreams about Ling, where the two of them travel through the past and future to save each other, but something always goes wrong, and they always meet again after years without seeing each other. Despite this, Guanxia immediately feels the connection between the two, and Ling warns her through the gift he left in her old apartment that it was him who helped her when she was young and came back to see a meteor shower, just like he promised in the past. Hannah confesses that she had been dreaming about that moment for some time. Ling asks if she didn't dream that she was confessing her love to him and returns to tell her some words she had dedicated to him in the message booth, saying that, for the most part, charm is not when the flowers bloom, but when he is by her side. The two of them don't hesitate to embrace, knowing that their destiny was always to be together, and neither of them would hesitate for a moment to risk everything, regardless of the danger, to save the other. Their hearts beat in unison, and with every glance, they share the certainty that their love is eternal and unbreakable. Even in the darkest moments, they find strength in the love that binds them, proving that their bond is true, stronger than any adversity, and this is how this story ends. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like this video, as this way YouTube will send you summary videos every day. Subscribe to get notified. See you in the next video. See you later.